we really want to deliver something that anyone can use to really fulfill this was honestly a cypherpunk dream. Can we build an anonymous internet? And I think the answer is yes. I think this is our one chance to do it. There is a very real danger governments will shut it down, or will try to shut. They'll try to shut cryptocurrency down. They'll try to shut privacy down. They'll try to shut freedom of speech down. So we need to have these kind of decentralized anonymity networks working, up and running with thousands, if not millions, of users. Uh, and at that point, the genie's out the bottle. You can't shut it down. Just as I think right now you can't really shut Bitcoin down. They could have maybe done it a few years ago, but now they can't. It's too late. This needs the cypherpunk dream is not just digital money. The cypherpunk dream is digital money and anonymous networks. And Nym is delivering this kind of second part.
Welcome back to another episode of Bitfinex Talks. I'm your host, Ricardo Martinez. Today, I am very, very happy to be joined by Harry Halpin, who is the CEO of Nym Technologies. Harry, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a very cold day here in Switzerland. I'm happy to be on this podcast and to explain folks what the hell Nym is.
Nice. That's actually going to be my first question. After this question, are you guys getting snow where you're at right now?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Winter has come.
Winter is not only coming, it has arrived.
Nice. All right. So let's get into it. What the hell is Nym?
Yeah. So what Nym is Nym is effectively a mixnet. So what is a mixnet? A mixnet is a network that's a little bit similar to like Tor or a VPN, but it mixes the packets. So when I use a piece of software, the packets are kind of coming in to the VPN and out of the VPN. And they're coming in the same order I sent them. And the VPN provider, the centralized server, they can see everything that I'm doing. And that's quite dangerous. They know what you're doing and they're not really offering you any privacy. So what a mixnet does is a mixnet mixes those packets up and adds fake packets, and each packet is routed and independently encrypted. And this combination of things can prevent even surveillance by like sort of artificial intelligence or nation state level actors such as the NSA. So I think that's a pretty big deal, really, when it comes down to it.
Yeah, I would say so. With the mixnet, like is the performance similar to like a standard VPN or something like that, or is there latency? Like how does that work?
Well, we offer two modes. So we offer a fast mode where we don't really do much mixing. On that level, it's pretty fast, based using the WireGuard protocol. And it's, I would say, reasonably fast. You're still hopping through multiple hops through a decentralized network. So we don't run all the nodes, again, random people across the world run. So it's a little slower, but it's not like tremendously slower. It's like, reasonably slower. While on the other hand, the mixnet itself does increase latency pretty significantly, but that's just like the price you pay for effectively for privacy. Yeah. So it'll be noticeably slow. You can still surf the web. You can definitely send instant messages. And you can definitely, particularly, it's important to send cryptocurrency transactions over the mixnet. So we've already got integrations with the Liquid Federation. We have one coming up with Zcash. And these are important because most people, when they use cryptocurrency, they assume that the usage is somehow anonymous, not easily traceable. But even if you're completely anonymous on the level of the blockchain, you are not anonymous on the level of the peer-to-peer broadcast. This is like the underlying kind of peer-to-peer aspect of, say, Bitcoin or any whatever clone of Bitcoin. So we can actually make that part of your cryptocurrency transaction anonymous. So we believe that's a really big win, that anyone who's even vaguely interested in cryptocurrency should be interested in that level of support.
Okay, so like I guess in layman's terms, like when the nodes like share information with each other about transactions, that's what's being mixed with the mixnet.
Yeah. So what's being mixed in the mixnet is every single packet that comes from every single other user of the mixnet. They're all mixed together.
No, I get
That
that,
makes
but I'm talking about for cryptocurrency transactions in particular.
Yeah, for cryptocurrency transactions, when I do a broadcast and I hope that like a validator or a miner puts that in a block, if
Yeah.
you're behind the Nym mixnet, that broadcast goes up through the mixnet and that can't be connected to your IP address. That's the unique identifying number that any internet kind of broadcast has. And that's important because, firms like Chainalysis can actually connect your IP address back to your like Bitcoin transaction or whatever random cryptocurrency transaction you're doing. And that's actually independent of what happens on chain. So
Okay.
we can actually, it's like we can provide that secure foundation of cryptocurrency transactions by essentially eliminating the metadata, the IP address, and also changing the timing of the transaction as well for any cryptocurrency transaction.
My next question, Harry, is how does Nym stand apart from other token projects? Like, why did you guys decide to have a token for the Nym ecosystem?
Yeah,
And
I
why
mean,
that?
so one of the real problems that you have with token projects is a lot of them are scams, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people are trying to like copy Bitcoin, make some weird Bitcoin with like better features or whatever. We're specifically not trying to do that. Nym is effectively as a token is a reputation token, and it's a reputation token. And for mixnet, reputation for mixnet in terms of tokenization actually predates and pre-exists Bitcoin. Mixnets, which are invented by David Chaum back in the 80s, people are trying to figure out how to make them more reliable, more efficient, how to get people to run the nodes. There was all actually research in 2000, 2001, 2002, even by the ex co-founders of the current co-founders of Tor, looking at this technology. Now they gave up, but we decided we could make it work. So the token essentially indexes not gold like Tether Gold, doesn't index USD, doesn't index Bitcoin. It indexes the kind of your node's ability to mix these packets up properly, to route these packets efficiently, to not be offline, how much bandwidth you're providing. On that level, it's kind of indexed to the amount of privacy enhanced bandwidth that you're providing and your quality of service. So if you have a node and let's say it's offline, you won't get any Nym tokens from the system. You eventually get pushed out. If
Mm.
you have a node and you're mixing packets properly, then your reputation goes up and your amount of Nym tokens goes up. And because we don't want Sybil attacks on a network, we do require an initial deposit or pledge of Nym tokens to set up your node. And that ends up being really crucial. And then another thing we did, which I think is a bit unusual, is I do think there's a lot of, for lack of a better word, bad behavior, rug pulls, all sorts of terrible things going on in the cryptocurrency space. So, we're a Swiss company. We're in Switzerland because it's pro cryptocurrency and pro privacy. We know
Okay.
the US is turning pro cryptocurrency, but we're not sure about this privacy aspect. So, we actually registered our token using a prospectus. So we actually had the kind of, effectively the Swiss government say, okay, verify both the kind of what the token does, its launch, just like any other kind of security or equity or whatever. And I think that's really important to establish kind of trust of the underlying asset. So we at Nym, we're quite happy with that. And the cool thing, why we hope people use Bitfinex, is that when we launched, the Nym token itself was originally on Liquid, and we still have maintained Liquid as a Bitcoin sidechain. We still maintain a presence, and we still actually run one of the functionaries for the Liquid sidechain. But the
Okay.
fact of the matter is, Liquid is not heavily supported by most exchanges. I think Bitfinex is one of the few to support it. So what you actually had happen is that you got all these kind of ERC20 versions of Nym. But these ERC20 versions of Nym, you can't use to run a node. If you run a node, you get another version. You get what we call the real Nym, right? And so what Bitfinex is super useful for is if you have ERC20 Nym, you want to convert to real Nym, or vice versa. You can do that via Bitfinex, and Bitfinex is the only, you do that instantly. And Bitfinex is the only exchange that offers that. So you
Okay.
can basically get Nym on whatever other random exchange you want, but you want to actually run a node. you can get a Bitfinex account and convert that ERC20 Nym into a real Nym, run the node properly, get rewarded in Nym, and then you can cash that out into Tether or whatever you want on Bitfinex. And that's a really nice feature because it gives you full access to the full functionality of the network and the full functionality of the token. And you can, no one else offers that. So that's why we're on Bitfinex.
Well, that's amazing news to hear. And I guess my next question would be, with the token, did you guys like at some point transition to like a native asset that's on like Nym's own blockchain or something like that?
Yeah, so the entire project is run on a WebAssembly smart contract using what's called
Okay.
Cosmoplasm. So while we did our initial launch on Liquid, Liquid doesn't support smart contract currently, so our smart contract is running on Cosmos. So the real Nym, the thing which is the thing which you basically you get when you run a node, and that you need to basically keep your reputation, you transfer off and on. That's all done on our own Cosmos blockchain. Which
Okay.
we also, the important thing is another interesting use of the Cosmos blockchain that we use is while a lot of people, again, are interested in blockchain for financial transactions, we're interested in the fact that it's a publicly available censorship resistant ledger.
Mm-hmm.
So we use that when you go to a VPN, I install a VPN, I say, hey, where's all the nodes? Where's your nodes, let's say in Kenya? Where's your nodes in Hong Kong? That's all stored on a big centralized server. Those servers are incredibly easy to censor, right? So I want to shut your VPN down. I'm some malicious government that doesn't support freedom of speech. I will just shut that node down. Nym, on the other hand, Tor is actually similar. Tor has a slightly better design, a sort of decentralized collection of, I think, 11 servers called the Directory Authority. But by virtue of running a decentralized blockchain, we actually have a little bit more decentralization, a bit more censorship resistance via that technology than a traditional VPN or even Tor, which you think is pretty important.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I want to get into like, I guess the advantages and disadvantages of using Nym against like a standard privacy focused VPN, like Mullvad, for example. Could you kind of like give us the comparison there? And then I want to move into the comparison against, like anonymized networks like Tor or I2P.
Yeah, so when you use a standard VPN, you're really just trusting someone else's computer. That's a pretty dangerous thing to do. That person on that other computer can, again, as I said earlier, see what you're doing. They know where you're going. They know what websites you're going to, what kind of traffic you're sending. And a lot of VPNs even sell that traffic, right? They take your NetFlow data and they just put it on the market. And what many VPNs, you think they're different companies. You think, oh, ExpressVPN, Private Internet Access, Surfshark, TunnelBear, they're all different. No, actually, it's actually only two companies run most. I think ExpressVPN is ran by Cape Systems. Nord runs a bunch of different other VPNs as well. So you really have these kind of large VPN monopolies, and we think that's pretty dangerous. So by virtue of running a mixnet, you get a little bit better privacy and security by default, actually quite a lot, because each packet is independently routed through a set of decentralized servers. And each packet is encrypted, and at each hop, it's re-randomized. That means that even the zeros and ones in the packet change, and it's unlinkable. It's still, and that's the combination of that plus adding noise, adding cover traffic. That really basically takes the mixnet to the next level. And so even a decentralized server that's getting packets to mix, they can't like really distinguish between different kinds of packets. The only way they could even decrypt the packet, because again, the packets on a mixnet are onion encrypted, would be if they compromised all mixes in a path. And that's really hard to do. You'd have to coordinate, about 5 different servers to do that, because you go 5 different hops through the mixnet. And even if you did that, let's say I do compromise the whole path, I would then only compromise essentially, one Sphinx packet. That's really not that much data. When I talk to you here, I'm sending lots of packets back and forth. Most transactions are tons of packets. So compromising, one packet of hundreds or thousands doesn't really reveal that much. So that on that level, Nym, again, it adds fake packets. It's decentralized, no trust decentralized server. It uses Sphinx, same packet format as a Lightning Network. Each packet's re-randomized, unlinkable to previous usages of that packet, making the whole security level much higher. And that's the big difference also with Tor and I2P. Tor is actually similar on some levels to a normal VPN, but it's obviously much better because it routes you through 3 different servers. However, it does not mix packets. It does not basically hold packets back and randomize the time they get released. It doesn't add fake packets in, although I think they've thought about that. And each packet in Tor is not routed independently. You make a circuit. So the way you want to think about it is it's a synchronous circuit, and that circuit changes every 10 minutes. On the other hand, Nym is asynchronous, and each packet's routed independently. On that level, more similar to I2P. But I2P does not really mix packets. I2P doesn't do these randomized delays. And I don't think they add fake packets. So on that level, we're more secure and more private than I2P.
Okay. Thank you for that detailed explanation. Another question I have is, with like anonymized networks like Tor and I2P, the bigger the crowd of users that you have, like the easier it is to hide amongst that crowd, right? Is there like a lot of take up with Nym right now? Like, do you even know how many people are using it?
Well, actually, right now, we one of the unfortunate or fortunate, depending on how you feel about it, side effects of running an anonymous network. We don't know how many users we have.
Yeah,
we
that's
do know
what I
how
was going
many.
to ask.
we do know we do know how many packets are going through the network, so we can see when the packets increase and when they decrease. And again, our goal is not to we make you anonymous by making your packets anonymous. Now, one of the cool things about Nym though is that it's true. Unlike in a VPN, also unlike Tor, the more people that use Nym VPN, the more anonymous everyone is, right? So it's like if everyone is dressed alike, we're all dressed here in black and all hiding together in a big crowd. It's harder to distinguish who we are, and we do that to your packets. And the more different kinds of people we have running the traffic, the better. So our goal again is that we want to mix up high value traffic, like Bitcoin traffic, for example, other kinds of cryptocurrencies, whatever, traffic from human rights activists, traffic from people who are being censored. We want to mix that packet up with like normal kind of packets. People just checking email, sending YouTube videos around, chatting on Telegram. So we can mix all these kinds of different packets up together. So the more people that use the network, the more anonymous everyone is. And also the more people that use the network, the less fake packets we have to add because there's so many packets going through. So the network actually gets faster the more people that use it, while maintaining the same level of privacy for the user. So that's really important. No other network really does this. So on Tor, it doesn't really matter how many people are using Tor. You have about the same level of privacy. With a VPN, it's even a decentralized VPN is about the same. With a mixnet, because of this mix, you really do get a higher amount of what we call entropy in your packets, or privacy, anonymity, the more people use the network. So that's why we launched an app called Nym VPN, because we were originally offering this as APIs to integrate against, and various projects have integrated against it. Everyone from Aztec, the Zcash, to we had a Liquid integration, Monero integration. It's all pretty cool. But the fact of the matter is, all of these things really have a small amount of users compared to the amount of people on the internet. So it'd be very stupid to run a mixnet where it's only like you and your friends, only you and the rest of Chaos Computer Congress, whatever. That would be terrible. So what we want to do is we want to get normal people using this, and that's why we launch an app. The app is, you can just download it. It's on Apple Store. It's on Google Play. Works on Linux, Mac, Windows, and that actually lets you download and run your entire internet traffic through the mixnet. And if you also want to be fast, you can turn the mixing off and just run it what we call fast mode. And that really, at least running it through the mixnet, really helps everyone else. And we think that's a kind of killer app for Nym, because the problem with most cryptocurrency projects is that there's no really working software there. It's just like, oh yeah, run some nodes, you run some validators, collect some fees. But the fact of the matter is, how many blockchains do you need? I don't think you need that many. I think maybe you need coin, maybe something more privacy enhanced like Zcash or Monero. Private smart contracts would be cool, but there's actually, I think, very few. We don't need 200 blockchains. We probably just need a few, maybe 3 or 4. And maybe even those 3 or 4 could all eventually become side chains of Bitcoin at some point. That would be, I think, an ideal situation. However, a mixnet like Nym, we have our own separate business model. The more people that use Nym, when I use the VPN, the more private everyone is, and as those people pay, we convert that payment into Nym tokens. So the packets that basically mix together are mixed together, and the servers, the mix nodes that do that mixing, they get rewarded in Nym tokens based on the payment the user sends in. So, if we got 100K users, a million users, we think millions of users, then all of a sudden running these servers could become quite lucrative, mixing these packets. Right now, we're still in beta testing. So I think we have on the scale, we know we have probably about, I would say probably about 5 to 10,000 users beta testing the software. However, we are working very heavily on censorship resistance because we very much support freedom of speech. And we have, in beta, we also are getting the software working, for example, in Russia and other countries where people are having trouble accessing the internet. And we think that could really take off. And if that takes off, then all of a sudden, I think the kind of flywheel starts turning. Of course, one question is, if you take in payments, one thing that people don't think about is that most VPN providers, when you take in a payment, they basically they can attach your credit card data, your ID, to your VPN usage, and that's terrible, right? So the feds can come by or whatever, or whoever, cyber criminals, whoever, come in and say, hey, who's using this VPN right now? Give us their name and details, and they have them. And even with Bitcoin, Bitcoin addresses are not 100% private. They're better than maybe your physical address, but they're still pretty public right now. So even if you paid in just Bitcoin or just Lightning, that's not enough. So what we do is we actually take, when you spend money on the Nym VPN, you can send us Bitcoin, you can use a credit card, whatever, we don't care. That money goes into the smart contract, and what you get out is a zero knowledge proof. And that zero knowledge proof is proof that you paid, and that's it. And you just show that zero knowledge proof to log into the Nym VPN kind of app and prove to nodes, the servers that are mixing your traffic, that you've paid, and they don't know anything else about you. We don't know anything else about you. So we cannot link your usage of Nym VPN, your usage of the mixnet with any payment data. And that whole scheme is based on eCash, another invention of Chom that I think other folks are looking at in the Bitcoin ecosystem. But we have, I think, the first large-scale decentralized version of it working.
I really like how much thought you guys have put into protecting user privacy. With the Nym token itself, I know you mentioned that the node operators will be compensated in the Nym token. What does it have? Any other functions? Can you use it for governance? What is the role of the token itself within the ecosystem?
Yeah. So right now, you basically can use it to, run a mixed node. If you don't want to run a mixed node, but you trust someone else to run it, you can delegate it to that person and you get a percentage of that profit. So we see a lot of that going on. And that helps us defeat what we call Sybil attacks. So if everyone's like, how do you prevent the NSA from just showing up and running 1,000 nodes? And that's actually a good question. The NSA would have to pay for those nodes. But the fact of the matter is that no one would trust the NSA, right? The NSA's nodes would delegate to themselves. And, we actually have a community, a social network, and we watch who delegate to, and we kind of run algorithms on top of it to make sure we can prevent these kind of foreign actors who aren't trustworthy from running a bunch of nodes and trying to take over the system. The main thing a Nym token is useful for is, again, running a node. Second thing useful is delegating. I don't want to run a node, but I trust someone else to do it. And I use the Nym token to show that I trust them. And then we are going to roll out governance because, right, the biggest threat to, we're very serious. One of the biggest threats to privacy is, of course, the fact that you have some sort of organization, could be we're a regular Swiss company, but you could have any kind of profit or nonprofit infrastructure. That's all quite dangerous. All the infrastructure should be decentralized, so that if there should be no master keys, even software development, some sort of Bitcoin should be handed over to the community. It's all open source right now, but to be frank, our employees are still doing most of the heavy lifting. And our goal is to basically put all of that into the hands of the community, so there will be a kind of governance function established for the Nym token holders. Currently, the validators vote on software upgrades and make governance decisions, and that requires a bit more token than most people currently have right now. But that process will continue to decentralize and open up over the next year. Because again, the biggest threat to privacy is any centralized component, and that even includes me. So the goal is to get rid of me and give the whole network to the users in the community. And that's not just why would you do that? We would do that because that makes the network more resilient against large scale attacks.
Yeah, I can see that for sure, especially with how we've seen like certain like centralized projects like have been targeted. In particular, like we've seen like Uniswap get a Wells notice, even though they're a decentralized exchange, there's still like a centralized organization behind it, which can be targeted.
How we deal with this is, again, a lot of people issue tokens without going through proper channels. We are, again, we registered a prospectus for Switzerland, so we're quite above board on that level, because our goal is to give privacy to users, and the powerful actors, which include us in this particular game, we should be transparent. So our goal is to be as transparent as possible. The second thing is that we just saw with Tornado Cash, there's been pressure against developers privately enhanced software. And if you look at how that pressure has gone down, and I watch those cases pretty closely, and obviously support the Tornado Cash developers, there is a lot of concern. People say, well, how do is Nym a privacy coin? Is it a mixer? And actually, we're not a privacy coin. We're not a mixer. The Nym token itself is transparent. That's why it's quite useful for governance facilities. It's quite useful. We believe that the nodes that run the network should be transparent so users can trust them. However, we do support the right of developers to build anonymizing software, privacy enhanced software. So far, that's not illegal. Even FinCEN, the people gave guidance in 2019 over cryptocurrency, and they basically said making anonymizing software is legal. What isn't legal is essentially like financial transactions, which are possibly anonymous because they might violate OFAC. Now today, the judge has said, well, putting using OFAC in piece of software is not correct, particularly software that's the owners don't have control over. I think that's a good ruling, and that bodes well. However, from Nym's perspective, VPNs are legal everywhere except some extent Iran, and without registration, China and Russia, and maybe a few other smaller jurisdictions. VPNs are completely legal in the US. The US government funds Tor. So we are not a cryptocurrency mixer. We mix packets. We mix generic packets. We don't care what you are. We don't know what you are. And that's actually a real advantage from a legal perspective, because that puts us in the same category as VPNs and Tor, and not in the same category as a cryptocurrency mixer.
As like a money transmitting business, because you're not transmitting finances, you're transmitting data.
Yeah, we're transmitting data, and transmitting data is illegal. Then you have to send Google and your ISP to jail as well, not just us. So I think that's a pretty crucial point. Sometimes people get confused about the difference between a mixnet, which mixes packets, and a mixer, which mixes cryptocurrency transactions.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. If somebody is interested in getting started with Nym, you mentioned there's an app. Can you also run it on like your desktop or your laptop?
Yeah, it runs everywhere. You can run it on Windows, Linux, Mac. You can run it on Android, iOS. We are open source free software. You're happy to port it to other platforms as well. So it's just called Nym VPN. It can be found in app stores. You go to our web page. There's a download button. just click download on the webpage. Currently, the webpage is nymvpn.com, but we will have nym.com up shortly. And tell us if it works or not. We're really pushing. We're really pushing this beta testing. Our goal is to have the software ready to launch early next year. And we've had a lot of support for this software from tons of folks. We did our initial token launch with Snowden. We hired Chelsea Manning. She's working on our secure hardware and hardware acceleration efforts right now. I was just on the phone with her before we began this podcast. And even back and before he got pulled out of the embassy and put in jail, and now he's free. We would do regular meetings with Julian Assange, and he was quite supportive of the mixnet and pushing out a kind of really privacy enhanced, top of the line, secure network that he thought could be useful for him and people like him in the future. So we've had a lot of support from folks, and we really want to deliver something that anyone can use to really fulfill this. Was honestly a cypherpunk dream. Can we build an anonymous internet? And I think the answer is yes. I think this is our one chance to do it. There is a very real danger governments will shut it down, or will try to shut. They'll try to shut cryptocurrency down. They'll try to shut privacy down. They'll try to shut freedom of speech down. So we need to have these kind of decentralized anonymity networks working, up and running, with thousands, if not millions, of users. And at that point, the genie's out the bottle. You can't shut it down. Just as I think right now you can't really shut Bitcoin down. They could have maybe done it a few years ago, but now they can't. It's too late. This needs the cypherpunk dream is not just digital money. The cypherpunk dream is digital money and anonymous networks. And Nym is delivering this kind of second part of the cypherpunk and crypto anarchist vision.
Well, it's exciting work that you guys are doing. I wish you the best of luck, and I encourage you to continue with it. Do you want to give like Nym's social media or like Twitter account, Telegram group, or anything like that?
Yeah. We're Nym Project on X, or Twitter as it's more commonly known. We have a Telegram group, NymChan, NYMCHAN. It's all linked to our website. Just go to nymtech.net, nymvpn.com if you want to try out the VPN, or just go to nym.com. Might be easier to remember, nym.com. And you'll see the links, and they also link to GitHub with all the open source software. I really encourage people to give it a shot. I think there's been on some level, I think cryptocurrency has a real vision of the future. And right now, there's not much of a vision of the future around. There's a lot of obviously dark stuff going on in the world. There's a lot of danger. There's a lot of depression, and but at the same point, there is only, if we can use this amount of capital allocation that cryptocurrency has created, which is the largest amount of, I would say, new capital to hit the markets in the world. We can use this not just for personal gain, but to really build a better world and empower humans to fight against surveillance and fight for freedom of speech, fight against censorship, fight for privacy. It's all worth it. And if we can't build that world, and it's just a few people making some quick money trying to buy a Lambo or two, it's not worth it. So we need to really focus on that vision, really accomplish it. And I think anyone who's even slightly interested should definitely join in.
I agree. I think that's super inspiring and a perfect way to end the episode. Harry, thank you so much for coming on the podcast to talk to us about Nym. Like I told you before we did the interview, I'm a fan of Nym, and I'm excited to get started using it.
Yeah, we're really excited too, and we'll see everyone from Bitfinex, or at least hopefully we'll see some of you guys down at Plan B. And keep going. We need people like you to really get this cryptocurrency and get Nym into the hands of people everywhere.
Indeed. Well, thanks again, Harry.
Take care.